Hello, Bubba McMac. Thanks for the response. Okay, my pencil had no point on it, so my notes had to be in my head. But basically, one, it was an oversight to leave out a pain column. Another thing is you're using the table correctly in two respects. One, in terms of filling the table in as is, you can put those ranks like you want or whatever. I was thinking of a check mark. Basically, where does the phenomena begin? Assuming the rankings are good enough that, after, okay, fish have emotion, boom, then birds and the rest do as well. It's the same thing as if you say, hey, these are all at the same level. Ones emotionally all the way down to this level. Now, I wonder though if your moral imperative comes from the fact that something can feel pain and suffering. What you will do if we discover that insects feel pain and suffering? Because they act panic, they act in certain painful ways. Yes, they also act like they can endure, but so does a soldier. We know he feels pain when his leg gets slashed. He goes on. That alone does not mean he doesn't feel pain. Would you then grant a moral imperative to insects? Now, granted that if you're a pacifist animal lover type, there's a good chance that to a degree you do this now. You rescue insects. I myself try to take insects out, though I've come to the point of just killing roaches, but mosquitoes always just killed them. So it's these exceptions that make me have to admit that I don't really feel a general respect for insects based on that. And yet I think that it might turn out that they have something like pain because they have nervous systems. And, pain is just a certain kind of neuron that fires off. Seems to me they could easily have something so analogous to pain that we might as well just call it pain. Now, granted, we already know they don't have mammalian types of pain centers, but you know what I mean? Maybe you get what I'm talking about. Now, when you're talking about having conscious thoughts, I think that's funny because I think this is a time scale issue. I mean, does a what does a creature consciously know? How long do they have to find it out for it to count as conscious? And I think most of the cognitive differences that we see between us and other animals is the time scale that it goes on. Because in terms of evolution, if you could watch a time lapse of a creature evolving, it would look very, very conscious about its environment. Its reactions are so intimately associated. And the intimate association would appear as knowledge, as consciousness, maybe not self consciousness. This is a different thing. I think that we often mistake the concept of consciousness in knowing that things are happening to you and having a subjective stream of experiences with self consciousness, which is definitely a higher order neural activity where you actually are a witness and conscious of thought process itself. I also find it an ironic thing to base stuff on since I think there's so many people that wouldn't satisfy any material criteria of consciousness, where there's animals that would. But be that as it may, you've seen my other video. I've changed the chart. Um, and I think for my challenge for you is are you really sure that you want to go with this principle that might have you expand your sensibilities to insects? Do you believe in insects? And two, are you really sure that a plant doesn't think or react just on a slow scale? If you watch time lapses of plants, you see that they react to the sunlight. Do you not think they probably feels good to be in the sunlight? I mean, these emotional and basic kinds of thoughts are the things that biological systems seem to use to handle these complex experiences. And the more simple-minded the creature, the more likely it's taken a complex reality and turned it into a more simple and straightforward to handle for a biological creature emotion. And that emotion might be represented in a neural network and its activity, or it might just be represented in the chemical composition, the chemical atmosphere, and hormones and things like hormones that have been released on the cellular level. So, anyway, thanks for the reply. We'll try to organize this. I definitely appreciate in the second category of how you reacted to the chart. It's meant to be rejected. I consider it an act of bravery that I'd even put it up there when you know it's going to be wrong. Um, and so debate on the chart, and even that it should be a different chart altogether. It should be a pie chart. It should be done this way or that way or whatever. But better something than nothing to iterate over. That's the idea. So uh, I see this kind of inquiry as refining the question. So, of course, change the question. That's the actual goal. If you think instead, oh no, I'll give an answer, all you're doing is still changing the question. You give an answer, then that question is like, oh, that's spent. We need a bit more intriguing question. So, no matter what, you're leading to an improvement of the question. If you want to just consciously say, hey, the question has to be changed. Hey, this implement you've invented has to be changed. That's a part of it. That's what we're really narrowing in on is how to ask the question. And the answers will come naturally given that. All right, cheers, and nice to talk to you, and hopefully talk to you again.